let's suppose, and I really feel like this is a pretty safe supposition, that between Kyle Dubas and Mike Sullivan, the greatest single area of disagreement would have been the when. Like, when does this start becoming serious? Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. Comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The when isn't as easy as it might seem, because you can look at the team going 10-5-2 over the final 17 games of this past season and say, oh, well, I mean, look at that. And they beat some quality teams along the way, teams that are still playing in their buildings, and convincingly in a couple of cases. And you can extrapolate that further by looking just at the final 10 of those games and some of the meaningful contributions that they got from young players, notably Ville Koivunen, and to a lesser extent, only because he was injured, Rutger McGroarty. That also went well. So you could almost feel, including at the time, a little bit of a convergence between the older and the younger and the success that was happening between them. So back to the whole supposition thing. If Sullivan's coaching these guys, he's out there on the bench and he's winning and he's feeling good, and you're seeing the power play click and you're seeing some important things within the outcomes taking place, you might start saying, hey, how about if we just add this, this, and this and see where that takes us next season? But then, the GM's got a different point of view. Clearly has one. And I'm not guessing at that. That's something that he shared with me. He feels that there's a longer road ahead. And he feels that way. This is kind of a hard stance to go against, because he'd rather see the Penguins become built up not just to get back to the playoffs next spring, but to get back as a meaningful entry into the playoffs whenever it is that they do get back. And he, again, clearly looks at this roster, the one that he's in charge of, and says, this isn't it. This isn't it. And yeah, I could go and spend, $7, $8, $9, $10 million on another forward, and I could score a few more goals, and I could get into the playoffs. I could be one of the top 8 seeds in the Eastern Conference. I could do that. And I could probably do that just by adding a little bit more firepower. But what's going to happen when I get there? Well, unless I address this blue line, this brutal blue line that the team has right now. When I say that, by the way, I mean mostly defensively. Then what's it going to mean? We're one and done. We're just toast. I mean, teams are going to dump it in on us. They're going to wear us down. They're going to score more goals than we are, and that's it. And what's more vexing, as I see it, related to this defense, is if you can say, all right, well, move Erik Karlsson out of here, just find a way, and you'll instantly become a better defensive team. And that's true. But where are you going to get his 50, 60 points from? Who's going to give you those? Because in the modern NHL, you can't pick and choose which way you want your D to go. They have to be able to do both. They have to be. Show me one team in these playoffs that's one-dimensional on the back end. Not just the current 8, any of the 16 that made it. And for that matter, most of the teams that didn't make the playoffs. You have to have that. Now, does that mean you have to go and get your eyes wide and think that everybody has to be Jacob Slavin? Who, by the way, it was really cool to see him get that overtime goal last night. What a terrific player who's had a terrific calendar year and really caught a lot of additional attention in the hockey world that he deserves. But I digress. If you have players who are in that mold or who are one or the other, and you can create for yourself a mix that works, that's essential. That is not optional. That has to be built. This team, at the risk of repeating myself, doesn't have that. It doesn't have it in the now. It doesn't have it in the short-term future. It doesn't have it in the longer-term future based on what's here. including, I should add, the system, the broader system, not just Wilkes-Barre, the whole system. So if, and this is the vibe that I've gotten over the past few days, this was the distinction between the way Dubas saw this scenario and the way Sullivan saw it, I'm not just saying this because he's the one that stayed behind, but I'm with Dubas on this. I'd rather see the Penguins compete for championships. I'd rather see the Penguins set themselves up for another decade and change of success, of being a mainstay in the playoffs. And if that happens to align with the remainder of Sidney Crosby's career here, awesome. If it doesn't, got to keep going in this direction anyway. I get it. It's all philosophical. It's all theoretical in the moment, but that's all that there is when you're in these phases. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Evan McLaren, who says, DK, are you at all worried that Mike Sullivan's departure will change the equation for Sidney Crosby? I'm sure that watching the playoffs without participating drives Sid up the wall, and that Sullivan's departure might exacerbate that frustration. Is there anything about this, including Kyle Dubas' explanation of the path forward, that you think could seriously lessen Sid's commitment to finishing his career in Pittsburgh? I could do here, Evan, what Dubas did in his press conference when this subject came up and just give you the one-word answer, no. But I'm probably not going to get away with that the way he did. I don't see any signs whatsoever. And again, there's something that I picked up in this context over the past few days, meaning from the Sid perspective, that lends credence to the no response. If Dubas was even, just look at his answer and nothing else, okay? If Dubas was even the tiniest bit worried about Sid, he would have come up with something there to say. He would have laid out some reasoning as to why Sid would feel that way. He just would. He wouldn't even have to be speaking on Sid's behalf, which he's always been careful not to do. There's just a way that he could have come across. He didn't feel he needed to. That was what struck me in that moment. He didn't feel he needed to say anything. Dubas also made a point to say in this press conference that his conversation with Sid lasted all of 5 minutes. Now, we are all free to interpret this as we want. And really, that's part of the fun of following any franchise. You kind of get into some of this, the drama and the speculation and whatever. But I was sold on this notion, the no notion, as soon as Dubas said the 5 minutes thing, because Sid loves to talk about stuff like this. And under any circumstance in which Sid would have been like, hey, wait a second, that's my guy, Kyle. What are you doing, Kyle? We won 2 cups with him, Kyle. This wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. The reason that it lasts 5 minutes, I believe, is that everything that would have led to this would have already been known, meaning by the captain. None of it would have come as a surprise to him. I appreciate the question. Really good one. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to be back with another one of these tomorrow, which is to say after the Jets take their 1-0 series lead over the Stars tonight in another Winnipeg whiteout.